You're listening to Some Like It Pop, a bi-weekly podcast where we take a look at the latest in pop culture. My name is Bradley Stern. I'm the editor-in-chief of PopCrush.
I'm Samantha Vincenti. I'm the managing editor of PopCrush.
I'm Ali Zubiak, an associate editor at PopCrush.
And I'm Matt Donnelly, and I'm a senior writer at PopCrush.
Great. So welcome to our very first episode.
Yay.
Yay. We're going to take a look at some of the latest headlines and then take a broader look at some of the issues in pop at the moment. And at the end of this podcast, we're going to have an interview with Carla Hall from Top Chef. So, fine. Let's get into it then. First topic that just hit the headlines is Britney Spears. She has a new single coming, and it's called Make Me Ooh. And I think I might be the only one who is genuinely excited about this in the staff. But
Bradley is definitely our resident Britney stan.
Yeah.
Does Britney have a fan name?
You know, she kind of came in before all of that started, but we've kind of come to call ourselves the Britney Army.
Militant.
You're like a general in the Britney Army.
I would say I'm a general. I was a lieutenant at one point.
Right. Promotions are inevitable.
Yes, yeah. But, you know, we've been a long-standing troop fighting the good fight. She has a album coming out, which was also announced is going to follow the single in exactly a month's time, if all goes well. And we're pretty intrigued by their description lately. Britney herself has said that it is very different from anything she's done before. Her manager, Larry, has warned us that this is not a straightforward pop album and that it kind of sounds like The Weeknd, which...
I'm really curious to hear what that means exactly.
But as someone who has followed her career so closely, like, what do you expect from a first single?
Well, considering her streak of objectively perfect songs, I would have to say...
Totally objective.
I think it's going to be surprising because I think every lead single she's had has been not what we've expected. So I think they might even come out with a ballad or mid-tempo. I don't think it's going to be up-tempo. I think they're trying to hint to us that the album is not going to be a usual banger affair. Right. So I am excited to hear what she has. And again, I have no doubt that she will deliver. Because
I assume that weekendy means... They meant like sonically, production-wise, like an R&B, and less tortured topics about pill abuse.
Yeah.
And because obviously, if her social media is any indication,
right,
it's more Hawaiian vacation, inspirational quotes.
And yeah, I think maybe that won't happen at all. Any lyrical references to The Weeknd won't be happening. But I do think there will be some moody sounds, maybe some zane,
ooze.
Some ooze, some ahs, some, haunted cooing.
Haunted house noises.
Haunted
cooing.
That's, you heard here first, breaking.
I think there will be a lot of sexy jams.
Sure.
Bedroom bangers, if you will. But I don't think...
The title would indicate as much, yes.
But I don't think it's going to go dark as far as theme because I don't think she wants to go there. But who knows, really? I don't know.
Did you like Britney Jean? On the spot.
This is a lot.
Really, we're gonna jump right into this.
Britney Jean had good intentions. There was a major issue in calling it her most personal album to date because most of it were GRL discards and will.i.am B-sides. But she did have a hand in writing some of the songs, but all of those songs were very Christian, and I don't think her fan base was really expecting that. And so it's a half empty dance album, half deeply religious spiritual album. So I think it was her most confusing album to date.
That's a match made in heaven as far as I'm concerned. When you pair those together, it's a really winning combination, and I don't know.
It's, you go to church and then you dance.
Exactly. That's my history with
dirty dance.
With
dirty dancing, of course.
Sure.
So it was like a creative stepping stone, you'd call it.
Yes. I think they wanted to go Ray of Light, but instead they kind of caught her on a Sunday, and she was worshiping for a bit, and then she was like, I just want to dance.
And now we're reverting back to Saturday night.
Yeah. we're definitely reverting back to Saturday night into maybe some Sunday morning.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm really excited about the album. Obviously, everybody else at this table is also really excited about it.
So excited.
Really excited.
I have to say, I've been looking for my entry point with Britney for 20 years now. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I think this is kind of a bit of a make or break moment for her as far as being relevant in this new era, because she kind of got away with her name for a very long time. I would say about for the past 5 or so years, it's been like, well, it's Britney. But now there are actual teens who do not know who she is, which is horrifying.
Is that true?
Sobering fact.
Lord had an interview 2 years ago that really battered me emotionally, where she said, yeah, I was watching Britney on X Factor, and I went on YouTube, and I had no idea she had, was this big pop star and everything like that. Lord said that.
Lord
Yes.
said that?
First of all, it's hard to remember that she's not 30.
Right.
Because I always forget that Lord is a teenager.
Right.
And also, to be fair, she grew up across the world. So, I mean, I know Britney's internationally famous.
Right.
But I feel like Lord is so well versed in music, she should be aware of Britney.
Well, let me give you another anecdote.
Please.
I was in the crowd at X Factor, and I was next to a young...
Cool brag. Go on.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. I was there for 2 nights. And I was next to a younger gay, and he was maybe 16 max. And he turned to me and he said, "Oh, who are you here to see?" And I said, "Well, Britney, obviously." And he said, "Oh, that's cool. I'm here for Demi. Britney's kind of old."
Wow.
And it was then that I realized that life is short. And
that was just the flatline
And
moment.
the pop star's life is even shorter.
And yeah.
It is.
So I do think it's actually, this is the moment where she has to kind of reassert herself in the pop world and make her relevant again. And it's not going to be an easy task. She doesn't have the teens behind her. She kind of has her existing fan base. So,
and just by virtue of having a Vegas show, although I think this has changed a little bit, but I think Vegas show entails legacy act, or at least used to.
I would say the
so
conversation has changed, though, partly because of Britney, but also because now it's cool for DJs to have residencies there more than ever. And you've got J-Lo, and you've got, Backstreet Boys, which that's not a vote of current status, but there are a lot of acts coming. Katy Perry's supposed to be thinking about it.
That's surprising. I don't know why it's surprising exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of acts. But yeah, so she's in an interesting place, and I think she had to take it to the next level if she's gonna.
Why do you think that J-Lo, or maybe do you think that J-Lo is more enduring than Britney? She's not younger than Britney.
Right.
Is it that she's more multifaceted?
Well, if we're really going to go
enterprise?
there, I think it's because J-Lo's still hungry. And I don't think that Britney is necessarily hungry for being on top of the pops anymore in any way. I think she likes having her babies. I think she likes having a show. It's like a job that she could go to and then she can go home. But I really don't get the impression from her that she in any way wants to dominate the charts. So that's another interesting aspect of this album. It's like, what are we going to get from her that she wants to give us? And how much can we get from her? Because I don't think she's going to give a whole lot as far as promo. She hasn't for a very long time. But J-Lo, my God, she wants to do everything still. She still wants to act, and she wants to dance, and she wants to do all of it. I think Britney's really happy recording, but I don't think it's like she doesn't want to be number one. I don't think she wants to fight with Beyonce and Rihanna. I don't think that's
Which
her.
is fine, frankly, when
Yeah.
you've been
I
around
agree.
for this long.
I feel like I would be the same way if I was a pop star. Be a
I'd be
real
tired.
laurel rester
Yeah.
after a while. Yeah.
Naps
I mean, she's been in the
aplenty.
game since Mickey Mouse Club. She hasn't had a real life, so
No, take a
now
vacation,
she gets to
I'd
have
say.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame her. So
Get
anything
those
she
dueling
gives me,
frappuccinos. That's what I say.
yeah, please load up on them. So anything she wants to give us, I think, is a blessing. So yeah, excited for that. Moving right along, there was a very controversial statement made by Kylie Jenner in a new interview, where I'm just going to say that she had sort of the right idea in what she was saying, but it was an interview with Marie Claire, and she said, "I started Wigs, and now everyone's wearing wigs. Kim just used my wig guy last night. I just do whatever I want to do, and people will follow." I don't disagree that people will follow whatever she does.
I don't disagree either.
Which is a very alarming state of affairs. But
oh, absolutely. But obviously, everyone's jumping on the line. I started Wigs. I think she just misspoke and meant to say she started changing her hair color and things like that. And people did, when she dyed her hair green was like a thing for a hot second. I don't disagree that she kind of led some trends, certainly the lips.
She started wearing Von Dutch hats again, and people are saying now Von Dutch is coming back.
Oh, really?
So look out for that. Trend watch.
Brittany would like a word with her.
Christmas 2016, Von Dutch hats. What we spoke briefly about the origin of was it an 18th century construct? Is that, or was it 17th? We're going back a few hundred years.
The origin of the wig?
The origin of the wig, if we're going to get technical here, is a little bit, I think, perhaps behind.
That's true, because
Kylie.
everyone seems to be having in this debate a different idea of who did start wigs.
And I'm not
Obviously,
sure.
there's a lot of cultural reference points everywhere.
Definitely.
That preceded Kylie in many ways.
Who's to say native man didn't take some leaves and tie them together with twigs and fashion them onto his head? That's just what I'm saying.
Surely.
That's true.
Yes, and surely she did not consider that when she made that
No.
statement. But
so did she mean she started wigs with her family, or do you think she meant she started it with the demographic of 18 to 25-year-olds who have very few cultural and fashion reference points?
I think that's what it was. I think
and also, who are these teens wearing wigs? I don't know the exact. Is it a very big trend?
They're all wearing
totally
wigs. You just
aware
don't
of
know
it.
it. Yeah. I think she's more talking about hair color and style, if anything. I don't even think she even.
I wasn't even sure she meant lace fronts,
Yeah.
or if she meant the kind you get at Ricky's. It's bright blue.
Right.
Well, even if she was talking about that, she's not, right?
Oh no! Oh no! Nope.
I bet Ricky's would agree with you, since they supply
Agreed.
them.
Let's get Ricky in here.
Even if we're just going by pop stars, I mean, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, they've all been doing that.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's not even the beginning.
For
But
sure.
Kylie is a trendsetter. I mean, I bought her lip kit,
You did.
and I don't
didn't
wear
want to
lipstick.
call you out directly, but
I know. I was waiting for it, actually.
you have the lip kit
No,
waiting
I think
for you
it's
at
at
home.
home right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are
On
you
the
so
next
excited?
podcast, we're going to sit here in silence while you apply it, and
Just
all we
marvel
hear
at
is
it.
the goo
Yeah.
application,
Yeah.
and then that's how we'll evaluate how good it is, and then we'll describe here how it looks.
That's a good idea.
with no visual.
I mean, I can't, as much as I do not want to elevate her any higher, I really cannot blame her for having this very limited perspective, because everything has been handed to her and everything she's done on social media has sort of taken off. And so I don't really blame her for feeling like she has contributed to that, because she has.
Is there a perspective pill that we can just force feed each member of the Kardashians?
Nope.
Is there some
No.
sort of immediate cure-all that we can sort of offer them?
That pill is the crippling reality of non-fame, and I don't think they're gonna have that pill for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They've dominated for a decade now. I'm shocked by how long
I am
they've gone.
too.
It eludes
They've
me.
really endured.
Yeah,
They've
always
gone
a
through
new-
some really tough times. I have
there's
to be
always
honest.
a new scandal that you really didn't see coming. I mean, Caitlyn really opened up a whole new chapter for them.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Chris is just a genius.
And the fingers of their reach really extend throughout the celebrity community
Oh,
in
yeah.
Malibu and beyond now. So
And the
Transcend.
Black China is going to be a new chapter in this for sure. There's going to be a reality show. There's going to be drama when they divorce. It's just going to be.
whoa, when they
No.
divorce,
I believe in
I
love.
can honestly say I hope they outlast every marriage,
That would.
including
that would be
Kim and
amazing.
Kanye. I'm sorry, North.
I agree. That would be amazing.
Love and revenge.
Exactly. Okay, moving to a similar Kardashian theme.
Can't get away
This is actually
from.
just a Kardashian.
Yeah.
It's really
podcast.
just a
Settle
Kardashian
in.
You'll
cast.
find at the end.
We're talking about Kanye, who also made headlines, as he often does, for speaking out about the same incident for nearly a decade now, when he famously interrupted Taylor Swift at the VMAs. He was at a concert in the Philippines, and he talked about how that changed his career. He said, "That night when I went on stage was the beginning of the end of my life. You know what night I'm talking about. When I said what everybody else was thinking. So if I get in trouble for saying the truth, what's being said the rest of the time?" He then also cited Lady Gaga's decision to cancel their joint tour as being part of the consequences of that action. Just curious what everyone thinks of the fact that this is still somehow part of the pop culture conversation.
My immediate thing is like, I will be very clear about the fact that I am no Taylor Swift fan, as you may come to know. But I feel like Kanye does sort of have this tendency to be like his own like revisionist historian, where he just like sets up the past in which like he has somehow been slighted. Like, I don't necessarily agree with the idea that everyone was thinking that thing that night. I remember even Katy Perry tweeted something about like, I can't remember what exactly
you
what it was.
stepped on a kitten.
Right, yeah, equated
Remember
it to that.
when Katy Perry thought that Taylor Swift was a kitten?
Exactly. That's
Isn't
what
that
I was
insane?
saying. Like, this
Remember when they were friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
if even Katy Perry could swoop into her defense, and I mean, you know.
Yeah, he does sometimes say something that alludes to the fact that everyone else has his shared opinion, which is also very pompous.
But to me, that's one of the things. I am a big Kanye fan. I should say at this point, a huge fan of his music, progressively less so of him as a person.
Oh, totally.
I
Yes.
don't blame the Kardashians for that. I think that's definitely a symbiotic thing. And unfortunately, his Twitter and his freedom of movement on Twitter is unfortunately negatively colored my opinion of him. But something I have always loved about him is his complete ability to say what he's thinking at any given time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times he backtracks on that. He's not afraid to sound stupid and backtrack on things. Obviously, there's this infamous outburst in the Katrina special, but then there's like, I'm thinking of it was many years ago, it had to be a decade ago. He was in an interview with, I think, Sway, who asked Kanye if he felt guilty in retrospect for screwing over Dame Dash, I think, in favor of Jay-Z, and he owned up to it. In the interview, he was like realizing it visibly on camera and was like, yeah, I did mess up there. And I think that takes a big person. And I think there is always truth to a lot of his statements about honesty in art. Does it apply in this case as a justification? No, I don't think it does, but I love that quality about him, and I think it's responsible for a lot of things he's made that are interesting.
I think conviction is a great thing, especially when it's in the context of your art. I think fighting for your art is a great quality, and I think that's a lot of the reason that we're fans of the people that we're fans of. But I think in the context of like when you're speaking about just celebrity culture or like people as human beings, after all this time, I think it's not too much to expect that someone will take a step back, take a breath before they tweet something. And I don't think at this point, as old as he is, as long as he's had Twitter, that should be so much of an issue still. And I think it sort of is.
Yeah. But I mean, also, Taylor has, yes, the inciting event. I don't see Kanye as a victim here, even though he did face far more backlash than she did. He did lose that tour. He effectively left the country for a minute, did all sorts of things on a creative walkabout. And she did get more famous. She was already famous. She was going to be famous. I think it made her more famous to some people. I barely knew who she was back then.
Oh, there was definitely a sympathy effect for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I literally barely knew who she was.
Same.
Seriously, I really didn't. I was like, is she Carrie Underwood? I was really
similar.
So
it was a weird video too, to be honest.
I don't even know what video it was.
Yeah.
That's how out of it I was with Taylor. I was all Kanye, no. I wasn't thinking that about Beyonce's video. I was one of those people who was thinking it. But
I was too at the time. Totally.
But I mean, they've both mutually benefited from this. She has benefited from it. And doesn't she have a framed picture of the moment in her apartment?
Yeah, that's my thing with it. Is like at this point, I wonder when people will realize that both of them are kind of using it for further promotion. I don't think either of them actually dislike each other. And I think they know they're smart enough to play the game. And I think the more they come up with ways to rehash the same event, the more they're just getting people to be like, remember that time? And everyone's getting outraged all over again. And
it's like a tandem bike ride from hell in which like they know they have to keep it in motion and they like don't want to, but they're still like careening right through the park and like going up and down the trails.
So until their Watch the Throne album.
Do you guys think that Taylor approved the lyric then? Because that's a big...
I don't think she did.
I can't imagine.
I don't think she did either.
I don't think it was her idea either. He claimed it was her idea.
Right.
Her dismissal of it was so like immediate and reflexive that I feel like if she would have probably just like stayed a little bit more silent. I can't imagine she would have just like set it up like that. Unless she really is a master manipulator above all others. I don't know.
Well, that's like the underlying narrative is that Taylor knows exactly what she's doing, and she did this she orchestrated it in part with Kanye, which I feel like is
cynical
untrue.
even for me. I think
That's some major conspiracy theory talk.
It is,
but it's also not entirely unlikely. Didn't somebody behind the scenes at the Grammys say that it was approved at the time? One of the producers of the show. There's an interview with somebody who said basically that she knew this was happening, and yet she still feigned outrage. Something like that.
I could buy that. Yeah.
I don't know.
We may never know.
I don't believe
we will
it.
never know.
I don't think she actually cares, but I think she had to make a statement to look like she cared more than she did. I think she was probably...
Love a statement. Good statement.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do the trick.
She's always got a statement.
Inspiring Grammy speech.
Yeah. But again, I still think she's secretly not totally unhappy because it's elevating her at the same time and making her look sympathetic for sure.
Also, at the end of the day, there's really no winner or loser because they're both doing great.
Exactly.
Really great.
Exactly. So I think we should move on to our larger topic, and this actually kind of relates, and that's our access to pop stars and celebrities, and not only what we say about them, but how we interact with them, quite physically, in fact.
Oh.
So one of the biggest stories that has come is Justin Bieber canceling his meet and greets because of an incident where somebody on the restricted list made it into the venue, and we don't know why they were on the restricted list, but she or he, I shouldn't say she, I'm just assuming it's Stalker Sarah, but it might not be.
I totally had the exact same thought.
That's
I'm
who
not
the visual
familiar
is
with
for me.
Stalker Sarah.
She is this teen, 20 now?
Oh,
yeah,
20.
Good for
who
her.
takes pictures with every pop star.
She
in-
essentially...
not just pop stars, like
just
Yeah.
and their
Republican
siblings and
candidates,
stuff.
too.
And
Of course, and Republican candidates. Okay.
She will essentially... There was a New York Times profile on her
Yeah.
in 2013 that she essentially obsessively tracks the travel
Yeah.
of any star who's like heading over to England right now or wherever. And she lives in LA, I believe, and she will track their flight essentially and just post up at LAX
Yep.
or wherever they are here, there. She has relationships with the paparazzi, and they'll be like, oh, so-and-so is over at trendy restaurant in LA I don't know the name of. And then she will just post up there, and it works. And she has built up this following. She's been offered like a reality show and her own sort of venue, but she's just content to stalk. And she has one of the keys to her success is she always looks exactly the same.
Yeah, that's one of the creepier things is that it's the same exact face and look, and
Clothes,
outfit,
wire rim glasses,
and it's just like
Wig.
you could do a montage of all the pictures and only the celebrities
wig,
change.
trench coat,
Yeah,
red trench coat,
basically.
wearing the world's
Basically.
Carmen Sandiego. It's distinctive. There is no red trench coat.
But
So
you're
that's-
under the impression that she is the reason that he has stopped doing this.
It's just who I picture as
Okay.
on the restricted
Right,
list. I have
like a
no
prototype.
I was
clue that it's
picturing that.
her.
That was my visual as
Okay.
well.
But so somebody got in that they did not care for, and after that they.
Although
said-
it's more fun to picture like a frothing mad woman.
Yes,
Just like
absolutely.
just gnashing and clawing.
right,
Rabies about.
Got her hand tearing.
Yeah.
shirt
right,
tearing.
and her believe shirt on. So he canceled those, and his fans were real mad. They were also mad, and this I get, because they did not. They said you could either get a refund, which would also give up your ticket to the show, or you would have to accept this downgraded meet and greet experience where you get to see him in the room and take pictures at him, but you can't take pictures with him. So you can like see him from afar and be in the same breathing air as him, but you cannot document that experience. So people understandably did not want that experience, so they wanted to refund it entirely and were told that they would have to give up their ticket to the show as well. That, I think, sucks.
Yeah, in an isolated sense, I would be pissed as a consumer, as someone who was under the impression I was getting something that I paid for and then was not going to get it, of course. In a more general sense, do I think, musicians are, obligated to do meet and greets? No, of course not. But in the same way that they have the choice to do it or not do it, fans have the choice to show up or not show up to the shows. And I think that's pretty much all there is to it when it comes to that sort of dynamic.
I do think like the prevalence of social media now though has sort of, there's always been meet and greets, although I feel like they're getting even steeper and more insane with the price
yeah.
tags now. But I feel like
Demi and Nick.
there might have been like a thicker barrier between the two, and there still is one, but people don't think there is because they see these carefully curated timeline, looks at people's lives and snaps and Instagram. So they really do feel like they can reach out and touch them metaphorically and physically at any time, like they didn't before necessarily.
And we've had some celebrities start to speak out about it sort of in a row, and that's why it's become sort of the topic we wanted to talk about, because it keeps happening. Halsey had a sort of now infamous speech outside of the BBC building where she was confronting a group of fans, very excited to see her.
Please don't be mean to me. I have been working since 8 in the morning. That's my Halsey.
And it was like 9:30 a.m. at the time. She'd been on the clock for 90 minutes.
Yeah, she had been working for 90 minutes. We start work at 8 a.m. too. That one stopped a little bit.
All right.
That was met with both support and a lot of criticism, telling her, well, this is your job, this is what you're supposed to deal with anyway. She was speaking to the fact that people online were yelling at her for not stopping to take a picture or, rushing into a building. And I'm of two minds about that. Mm-hmm. I feel like it is something that makes you as a pop star to create relationships with your fans, and you should, at every opportunity, try to be nice.
And she particularly really prides herself.
Yes, she absolutely.
As part of her self-marketing too, has a very direct connection with her fans on Tumblr.
I treat my fans, I treat them like real people.
Right.
But because of that, I also feel like, if you're having a busy day, I don't have time to talk to you. Like, if you're really real with them, like, you're like, hey, I got to go in for an interview. I'll talk to you later. I think she gets a pass if she really had to rush into a building. I don't know if she actually did or not, but I think I definitely have seen a lot of fans be completely unreasonable with their expectations and think that you need a selfie and you need to stand there as you, like, get the right filter and then do another one. And I've seen... There was that crazy dad who wrote that article about Ariana not being gracious to his daughter. Right. And at first I read it and was like, oh, Ariana sucks for this. But then...
Don't you dare.
I'm sorry. But then people pointed out how he kind of... The underlying story was that he frequently went to these meet and greet situations where that his daughters were like super fans who were like constantly doing these things. He was like a creepy
Yelp reviewer of meet and greets. He's like, this other meet and greet we went to 2 weeks ago. And I was like, wait a minute.
Wait a second. So I feel like there should not be this expectation that you get anything besides music and live performances. I think everything else is a bonus, really. I don't think you're guaranteed anything else.
But I think in the context of fan expectation, at least in terms of social media, I think... Say I'm not famous today, which I'm not, but if I wanted to be famous and suddenly I was thrust into fame tomorrow and I chose to open up a social media account, Twitter account, Instagram, invite fans into my life in a personal way, then I'm in a sense setting myself up for them to want that from me constantly. And not to say that no one should operate a social media account or, engage that way. But if you're going to get specific, then fans are going to get specific too. And I think there are stars like Jennifer Lawrence who have avoided this altogether by not even engaging in that way. Do I think it should scare celebrities away from opening social media accounts? No, but I think there has to be some sort of expectation that if you get into it, then you're really going to get into it.
I do think it's a double-edged sword, though, because if you don't build that fan base, then no one's going to care about you. Right. A lot, especially nowadays. I mean,
that's literally how Halsey landed her deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's all based on the internet. I mean, One Direction, their entire fan base all came from the internet. If it wasn't for that, they never would have become what they were.
But it can all be about the music, and with her, it's not all about the music. It can be,
but nowadays, I don't know if that's really true, especially with teen-based acts.
Yeah. They love the idea that they're able to interact with them all day long. And I mean, it seems like, I know Halsey also deactivated her Twitter account briefly
for
over
2 days.
Yeah, for 2 whole days, which is like 10 years in social media time.
That's the other thing. If you're just don't read the comments. For anyone famous, non-famous, don't read comments.
I know. But kind of easier said than done.
No, totally. That's
because
true.
I think she genuinely does talk to the fans. And I think if you just open your @replies and they're all like yelling at you, I think that probably did ruin her day a little bit.
Yeah.
And I agree with the idea that the pop stars of today you cannot be... I think there was a sort of a break between Twitter, pre-Twitter and post-Twitter, where there were pre-packaged pop stars. Britney, I think, was one of the last of that group, because afterward you have to kind of have an engagement with fans directly, and you have to be sort of a self-made pop star.
They're almost a part of the label.
Even if you're part of a label, Tinashe, for example, like her existence in pop world would not be without her having a hardcore social following and totally engaging fans, because she was doing that for about 4 years with mixtapes and things like that. I just don't think even, these pop stars who we say, oh, they were created in a boardroom, it's not that simple anymore. You don't really...
The American Idol effect.
I don't think you do. Yeah, your persona might be, crafted, but I still think you have to, or I guess the suits have to create an image for you online of engaging with fans. I think you have to at this point.
To me, I feel like Rihanna is the perfect embodiment of the success of that, because, yeah, a lot of it is like a marketing arm of her, but it's also genuine Rihanna magic that fuels the fan passion.
Absolutely.
But in a way that doesn't seem like it exhausts her at all, but she's a cipher. I don't know.
No, she is a complete mystery, and she's only become more mysterious with this album. But I still think you get these meet and greet pictures with her, and she seems like she's been talking with fans the whole time, even though, oh my gosh, I don't think that's the case at all. But yeah, and then you have people like Taylor Swift, who invites her fans over for cookies and into her home, which one of my friends got to do that, and he said that she was completely genuine, completely real.
We need to get him on this podcast.
He would definitely
for the recipe, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's possible for everyone. I don't think everyone should have to bake cookies for their fans. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Zayn should have to.
Just from a human to human level, Zayn has anxiety issues, and I'm tired of everyone attacking him for it. But I think, on a humanity level, everybody's capacity to endure that much human interaction varies, whether you're famous or not. So, yeah.
There's also somebody like Lana, who her persona seems very dramatic, and she wouldn't want to engage with fans, but then you see the videos of her with fans, and she's a completely different, goofy, happy person. And I think there's just such a separation. Marina, too. Marina has gotten a lot of slack for not talking to her fans outside of venues, and people have really come for her. I just don't think that's a given. I don't think you necessarily have to be held responsible.
And she defended Justin Bieber, too, when
she did. Yeah, she's gone through it, too. Yeah. And I think I consider her a very genuine act. Like, I think she does her thing on stage, but I think she gives us exactly who she is on social. I think it's got her sense of humor and everything like that. I think people just want a piece of her that sometimes she's not willing to give, and I think that's fair.
Allie wants a piece of her.
Allie definitely does.
I do.
A best friend piece.
Yeah. Clarify.
Have you met Marina?
No, I haven't.
Have you met Halsey? No, you haven't met Halsey.
This is a part of the show where we just ask each other what celebrities we've met.
I think we should definitely have
This is about
segment.
40, 50 more minutes of this.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I've met
I can
Zayn.
speak to all of them.
We can talk about my experience.
Please do. Was he friendly?
He was very friendly.
Did he
Very
seem like he had
nice.
anxiety?
No, he didn't seem like he had anxiety.
Okay.
This
Well,
was
you're not a medical doctor,
2012,
apparently,
though,
so.
so who knows?
Just saying. He's been very touch and go with his
Life. His career.
He's had an interesting
with
year.
his solo career has been very interesting.
Solo career. That's my Zayn impression.
I've heard you do a better Zayn impression.
That's also it. That's him. Excited for a show.
So thank you guys for tuning into our first podcast. Before we go, we have a little bit of an interview that we did with Carla Hall from Top Chef. We did a 10-year retrospective about the show. It's been on the air for a decade, and Matt's going to tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm a big fan of the show. You should definitely read it if you are too. That is my plug. It's on www.popcrush.com.
Excellent.
And I talked to 6 former contestants and also a couple of behavioral specialists and psychologists, just sort of about how the show can affect emotion and why there are contestants who scream at each other, which they do if you know the show, why there are some who cry over pancakes that split in half accidentally when they're flipping them in the pan. And Carla was a delight to talk to. She was very fun. She was known sort of on the show as like the kooky sort of spiritual one, and she's obviously gone on to do great things. She's the host of ABC's The Chew. She has some restaurants coming up, and yeah, so take a listen and let us know what you think.
I remember exactly my first moment. It was the first day of taping. Everything is cloak and dagger. You know, they don't want you to talk to the other contestants because we're not actors and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. So in my head, I thought there was going to be some kind of orientation. So I saw Tom. I'm like, oh my God, there's Tom. Then I saw Pat. And I'm like, this is so cool. And we went down, and I thought we were going to meet them, you know, have a little something to eat. But no. It was the show, and I remember the first person who got sent home, and then they mispronounced her name. They did it like 3 times.
Oh, they had to refilm it.
Yes, you know, and it's like, oh, so sad. And then she had to walk in front of us. I was like, dang, she didn't even get a jacket. And then when they called me to do All Stars, I remember thinking I didn't want to do it. It's really, I mean, it takes a lot out of you to compete and you know, and cook, and you're thinking, do I really need to do this? I just want to kind of go out on top, like Seinfeld, you know, go out on top. What if I come back and I get kicked off the first time? Right. You're like, oh, you just don't want to risk it. And also, it's your brand. You want to be known for you and the new things that you're doing, and maybe not another show, which is another brand. The thing that made me do it was to tell people that I didn't cater anymore. That's the only reason I did Top Chef. All Stars. I want to tell people I do not cater, and then that's when I was kicking off my cookie business.
I remember, and you did well. You did not get kicked off first. You made it to the.
I know. I made it to the finals.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to Antonio recently about the challenge, Ellis Island, and sort of how that was all, you know, a particularly emotional one for all of you, and you know, there have been, you know, different sort of instances of emotion through the show. That was one, obviously, like getting nostalgic and teary, and then of course everyone remembers like Dale flipping out. So I wanted to sort of ask, what is it about cooking that makes people so emotional, and are those things just conditions of the show, or is that just cooking in general?
No, I think it's cooking in general. I mean, you are talking to the person where I just had a meatloaf sandwich at a restaurant, and it was so good that I was laughing, then all of a sudden I was crying. So this is who you're talking to. So for other people, it may be very different. And interestingly enough, I think it was on Top Chef that because you're so stressed, you're constantly looking for something to make you feel calm or feel better, or just something that's homey that you can connect to. And for me, it was doing dishes that I liked growing up. I mean, even doing the chicken pot pie.
We remember, yeah.
So it was about doing dishes that made me feel better. And I think it was really on Top Chef that I discovered just all of this love for doing this Southern food. Because before, as a black chef, and maybe it was food shaming, I didn't want to do that food. I didn't want somebody to pigeonhole me into doing this food that of course people assumed that I did. So, but this was the stuff that I was doing on Top Chef, and then people saw me as the dessert chef and the person who made comfort food, because that's what made me feel better, and I would make food that I wanted to eat that day.
And sort of the impression you made on fans was, you know, a little bit different than sort of the things I mentioned previously, which is that, you know, you weren't explosive. You didn't, you know, lash out in the way that just a few other people, you know, through the course of the show have done. You were, you know, we saw you meditate and, you know, getting centered. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, in a field that, you know, can sort of attract these types of very explosive, loud personalities, do you find that you're like an anomaly in the field?
I guess so, but I think more people, we're finding that they may be a lot calmer. Mm-hmm. I think that when people are young and you're working in this field, because it is a young man's business, mm-hmm. and you think everything is about you, you know? So you are so focused on your ego and wanting to make a mark that, you know, you may not have as much patience. But I was 42 when I did the Chew. I mean, when I did the Top Chef the first time. And I also think I didn't come up in a traditional kitchen either, where there was a lot of screaming. And I went to culinary school at 30, and I'd already had a job. So when I was looking for a kitchen, I looked for a kitchen where people weren't screaming, and I knew that. So I was all so that is just my personality. I know I don't work well when people are screaming at me, and I don't scream at other people. And even hiring people, I will tell people, if you need someone to scream at you to be motivated to do the right thing, I'm not the person you need to work with, because I won't scream at you.
And do you find with that sort of unique training that you were prepared in a particular way for Top Chef, or maybe unprepared in a particular way?
I think there were a couple things that made me prepared for Top Chef. One, I was a caterer, so I'm used to different kitchens. I'm used to doing different kinds of foods. So, and maybe my plating wasn't as fancy as some of the other people, but one of the things I was used to clients telling me what they wanted. So that gave me, I think, a heads up and not feeling like I'm stuck in one lane and also one kitchen. So I'm always going to somebody. I think that's one of the hardest things of the show, is going into a kitchen that you don't know.
Right.
You don't know how the equipment works. The other thing that helped me was my spirituality. And, you know, some people may have taken a Bible. I had Eckhart Tolle's Awaken to a New Earth. And so I would read, and it was kind of centering myself outside of the game, if you will.
Definitely.
And another thing, I think the third thing, was because I had my own business, and it was just really hard, and I was constantly, you know, talking on the phone, cooking, trying to schedule things. I had to focus on one dish at a time. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I didn't have a phone, I didn't have a computer. A lot of people thought that they wanted those things. I'm like, this is like going to a silent meditation place. You know, I got to talk to in the interviews in the middle of the night. I'm like, this is like therapy. I can tell you how I felt. I can just purge and just move on to a new day. This is amazing. I was like, you can't. Well, I did think that it was very different how the producers approached it when I did All Stars than when I did season 5. Because they would sort of concoct things. I think they were more reality based with their questions, but they weren't like that when I did season 5.
It was less about the food and like more about the competition.
Yeah, it was just like they would just try to, pit us against each other.
Right.
Like, don't you think that blah blah blah? Well, no, actually, I didn't think that at all. But now that you're mentioning it, I think that the producers were very different, and I think it got back to being about the food.
And when you look back, just whether it's from the perspective of a contestant or maybe just a viewer when you weren't necessarily part of it, what are some sort of standout moments or personalities, and why do you think they connected with the audience the way that they did?
I remember Gail and looking forward to meeting him. That was one of the reasons that I also wanted to do All Stars, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to see who comes. And I remember standing there and watching these people come to them like, oh my God, it's Dale Dowdy, oh, it's Richard Blake, it's Tanya. And so it was like this family reunion of people that you had a connection to, but you didn't know them. So I was just as much a fan of theirs. So watching these people come to that for me was one of the best moments when we got to the house for All Stars, and all of these different people were coming through the door that I had gotten to meet watching the show.
Definitely. And it's sort of the age-old question with Top Chef, but I just felt compelled to ask in the spirit of what the piece is about. It's obviously hugely popular still. It's gotten Emmys, retained millions of viewers, launched careers and spin-off shows. Why do you think it's so popular when, viewers can't experience the food the way that the judges do or the way that the diners do?
I think because you eat with your eyes. I think especially with social media and looking at and actually taking the mystery of how this dish comes alive in the kitchen and bring it to the front. I think you go on this journey with people. It's kind of like the author and why he wrote the words that he wrote in the book that you love. Mm-hmm. So you have this chef that you're getting to know personally, and you start to understand their food because you understand the person. And I think it's that connection. I also think there is just this amazing thing that Top Chef has done for the food world, and as well as Chopped and and the next Iron Chef. But you have restaurants popping up in cities that may not have had a well-known chef, and it's because of Top Chef. And this chef has this opportunity for people to come and see him in person. And so I think it's kind of like the home team, where you have these people that you can root for from your community, and that's the connection as well. And there are people who hop around the country just to eat at the restaurants of these people from Top Chef.
I heard about that.
So,
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Have you found that recently, at least, like any have sought you out to sort of say hello to you or sort of experience your food?
I have, and they've come to Brooklyn. My restaurant will be opening soon in Red Hook, and people are like, oh, I can't wait, because I've already had all these people food. They list all these different chefs that they've had their food, and so it's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to that, because there's some people who think, oh, the girl can't really cook, and then there's some people like, oh yeah, your food tastes. I think the best compliment that I will ever get is when I make something for somebody, and they will say, I love this, and your food tastes the way that I thought it would.
That is really nice.
You know, like kind of comforting and homey, and that's what you want. You want to connect the dots. You know, you're the person that you think you are. You're the person that others think you are. Then you're the person that you truly are. And the closest that all three of those come together is really where you want to be.
And having mentioned, the restaurant opening up, can you sort of just share for people who don't necessarily know sort of what you're up to outside of the show and sort of what they can expect when they have your food?
So, well, I'm doing the Chew. So we're in our 5th season, and then for the restaurant, it's Carla Hall's Southern Kitchen, and I truly have the viewers and the fans of Top Chef to thank, because I think that's when I came into my own, and I stopped apologizing for making the food that I obviously connect to and I love. So it is Nashville's hot fried chicken, because I'm from Nashville, Tennessee originally, and Southern sides, and all the sides are vegetarian. That's a nod to people think that I'm a vegetarian. And the reason I did vegetarian food is because as a caterer, I look at everything that everyone's doing. I'm like, well, what are the vegetarians going to eat? I saw an unmet need, and I wanted people to feel like I'm expecting you to the party. So.
And I know, obviously, you have by the sounds of it, no time anymore. But just in theory, say the opportunity were to come back on the show for, All Stars 2 or Duels or whatever, and you had all the time in the world, would you do it?
Competing is so hard. It's a different mindset. I would have to, before I did that, I would have to spend like 2 weeks in a retreat, a silent retreat, getting my head like in the game. My first answer, if I didn't think about it, would be no, I don't want to do it. Okay. Because it's just so stressful.
No, I think that's been pretty much the answer with everyone so far. So please don't feel alone in that response.
Yeah, it's just too stressful. It's like, why would I do that?
Well, that is everything that I had. I know you have to get back soon, so I just wanted to say thank you very, very much for your time. It's been really fun talking to you.
You're welcome.
I'm a big fan of yours, so this was really fun for me to do.
Thank you, Matt. Well, I hope you get to come to the restaurant, and I hope you get to taste some of our little vittles. It's going to be fun.
Oh, I will be
fun.
there.
And the other thing, one of the things that I love about Top Chef is that we truly support each other. So you have this level of support, and that we give each other, and we do other things with each other, and we celebrate each other. So I've done something with Jeff McGinnis, a pop-up, and I might do something with Dale Chowdy, and doing like all of these really great friends that I have because of this show. And I am so incredibly grateful for this franchise, and truly am.
Well, even though you don't feel inclined to go back, I'm sure I can speak for many people when I say we hope that you do at some point.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you so much.
Of course, have a good one.
That's it for this episode. If you want to keep up with us at PopCrush, follow us at popcrush.com on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and Snapchat.
Please RT.
Please RT.
For Brazil.
For Brazil, and follow. and we will see you next week.
Bye. Bye.